What's up guys, it is Chris back with another watch video, and today we are doing a comparison, Zelos versus Christopher Ward. Before I get into it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Getting right into it, the Christopher Ward C60 versus the Zelos Mako version 3. Now, right off the bat, these are very similar and very different watches. I'm going to go through some of the similarities. Both of these are 40mm automatic stainless steel dive watches. They both have ceramic bezels. They both have lume in their indices, hands, and bezels. Both have screw down crowns. Both have screwed in case backs. They have very similar bracelets, sort of an oyster style bracelet, and they have very similar clasps. We'll come back to that in a little bit. However, you can see not only do they look very similar, but they function very similarly. They both have screwed in crowns. As I mentioned, both of them are signed, as you can see. And those are the majority of the similarities. They both are automatic, as I also mentioned. Now, some of the differences. The Christopher Ward gets a c60 Swiss-made movement. This is a Swiss-made watch. The Zelos gets a Miyota 9015. Now, there is a difference between those two movements. The difference is price, really. The c60 is a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit of a nicer movement than you get from the Miyota. The Miyota is no slouch, though. It's a very good movement, and I actually really like it. You get ceramic bezels on both of these. They are 120 click bezels on both. The action on both are excellent. Let's listen to the Christopher Ward first. Really nice bezel action. No wobble, no wiggle on there. It's very solid. Let's listen to the Zelos. Very nice as well. A little bit tighter than the Christopher Ward. That's either a good or a bad thing. The Christopher Ward by no means is loose. It's actually very tight as well. This is just a little bit harder to grip and a little bit harder to go around, but it's as nice as the Christopher Ward. The Christopher Ward bezel's just a little bit grippier, I would say. That's all. Indices, both have applied indices. Both are very filled with lume. The hands also very filled with lume. You both get, on both of these, you get dates. Date is at 3 o'clock as well as the crown. On the Christopher Ward, on the Zelos, the crown is at 4 o'clock while the date is at 6 o'clock. Both have color match date wheels, so the background of the date wheels actually match the dials. You get a textured dial on the Zelos, so that is actually a little added benefit. The dial on the Christopher Ward is obviously no slouch. It's a beautiful dial that is sort of a glossy color. You have a logo there at 12 o'clock, and then you have the Christopher Ward at the 9 o'clock position. Again, a lot of people do not like that. That's just something that is up to the preference of the person who's buying the watch. The minute tracks on here, I believe both have loomed minute tracks. I will do a lume shot at the end. I don't remember if the Christopher Ward does. I know that the Zelos does. Bracelets wise, the bracelet on the Christopher Ward is a little bit thinner than the bracelet on the Zelos. The finishing on the bracelet itself is superior to that of the Zelos, I will say. Even though it is all brushed, it is a perfect brushing on here. It's very nice. They both taper down to their buckles. So they both open with a double pusher. So you just open that up. It's a scissor clasp, obviously all milled. Each one of them have on the inside a little bit of an adjustment, on the fly adjustment, that you could just adjust very easily. As you can see, you put your thumbnail under and you pull, and it just opens up very easily. Obviously, I think this was on Christopher Ward prior to it being on Zelos. This could be something that Zelos sort of copied. On the Zelos, it is not as easy. It is not as smooth. Obviously, there is a price difference as well, but you could see just from the operation, it is a little bit tighter. It's a little bit chunkier, not clunkier, not chunkier. So it does not move as well as it does on the Christopher Ward. Now, I don't know how often you're going to be moving it and feeling that, but the construction of these are pretty much identical. I think that Zelos pretty much lifted this from Christopher Ward. It's pretty obvious that they did, and it looks really good. It actually doesn't feel so bad. Now, there is one big difference between the class, besides their visual, that you can see that they look exactly the same and they're finished Very similarly, actually, because they have that vertical sort of brushing on it, and then you have that crease that goes down. It's an indenture on the Zelos. The Zelos itself is very roughly finished right here, only on that logo. And you can see as I do this, you can see actual skin coming off and just sort of shaving off. It's very, very sharp. This will scratch, you know, when you rest your arm on something that you don't want it to scratch, it will scratch. This is actually a very rough finish on here. So that is a definite low point for the Zelos. I think that's the worst part of this Zelos. Unfortunately, I think that they missed it on the finishes of this on this clasp. I think they could have done a way better job. Christopher Ward, obviously, no issues whatsoever. And then the other biggest difference, I would say, is the case finishing. The case finishing on the Christopher Ward, this is their light catcher case. It is gorgeous. You have polishing, brushing. It just flows into each other. The finishing is literally perfect. They really did a great job on these cases. I really like the cases on here. I think they did a great job. It feels good. It looks good. The Zelos is no slouch. They do a great job. They have done a much better job. The finishing on here is a lot better than it was, and it looks a lot better, but it's just a little bit nicer on the Christopher Ward. The Christopher Ward is also 600 meters water resistant, while the Zelos is 300 meters water resistant, so that's something to also keep in mind. You do get a double release on these, the actual bracelet, so it's very easy to take the bracelet off on here. You do not get that on the Zelos, and you do not get drilled lugs, so it's actually more difficult to change the strap on here if you wanted to. However, that is really the major differences between the two. The finishing, I would say, overall finishing is better on the Christopher Ward, and the value is really with the Zelos. If you don't care about that extra mile of finishing, and then of course the clasp, you know, the issues that the Zelos has with the clasp. I think that the Christopher Ward is like the perfect execution. They really did a perfect micro brand execution here. It's got everything. The only thing that this is lacking is screwed links. It does have a pin and collar system, which is not very good. I have to be honest. You do get screwed links, even though they're small. It works, and it's a lot easier to change the links on this Mako than it is on this Christopher Ward. It's actually a pain to change it on the Christopher Ward. Now, with that being said, once you have it changed on the Christopher Ward, since you have this micro adjustment in the clasp, you don't really need to ever change it again, unless you're selling the watch, and then you don't have to do it. Somebody else does, or you give it to a relative. Whereas on the Zelos, you know, it's very easy to change on the bracelet itself, and then if you want to change it on the fly, you have the option, the easy option to do it on the bracelet as well with the micro adjust. Now, like I said, it's a little bit rough. You just have to keep that in mind. That's you know, that's what it is, I guess. Very quickly, I'm going to throw both of them on my wrist. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. Then we'll do a loom shot, and then we will end the video. So, very quickly, today I have the Maramusi. I've been wearing this basically nonstop since the day it arrived. This is an awesome watch that is built to very, very high tolerances. This achieves 300 meters water resistance with no plastic gaskets. There are no gaskets in here that are made of rubber. It is metal on metal, and this is grade 5 titanium, and they finish this to such a high tolerance that they are able to actually put metal on metal and achieve 300 meters water resistance. And I also mentioned that this is a Swiss-made watch, but it is Swiss-crafted, according to the brand. And that means that this is completely made in Switzerland. It is not made like most Swiss watches, where 60% of the value is actually derived in Switzerland, or 40%. I don't remember the actual ratio. And that means it could be, you know, made in China. Majority of it could be made in China. However, the watch's actual R&D is done in Switzerland, so that value is actually put towards the watch. So this is made in Switzerland 100%, and it's an amazing, amazing watch. Just a cool watch with an amazing movement in here. I'm going to be doing a video about it soon. Also, I have a big announcement about something I'll be doing with the brand very, very soon as well. So, throwing the Mako on my wrist. Now, the Mako, I actually purchased this directly from Zelos. They lent me this watch. I ended up purchasing it because I liked it so much, in full disclosure. So this is my watch, and I really love it. Obviously, I think it's a really cool watch. It looks really good. 40 millimeters on my wrist, 46 millimeter lug to lug. Excellent. Very similar dimensions. Looks really good as well on my wrist, and that is the Christopher Ward. Now, I said the Christopher Ward is definitely finished nicer. It's just a slightly nicer finish, maybe a little bit more than slightly. And it has just a very interesting case. The shape of the case, the look of the case is finished very nicely. The clasp is finished perfectly, and you get that micro adjust, so it's really, really nice. But again, it is more expensive, so if you're going to go for one of them, you don't have the money, you don't want to spend $800 and change, because that's what you can get this for, basically with discounts, the Christopher Ward, and you want to save a little bit of money, you can get something that's close to it, but not the same, for $499. I think it was $429 when these first came out. I'm sure that the version 3 will lead to a version 4, and they will correct things like this bracelet on here, which is not so great. The bracelet actually is great. It's the clasp. The finishing on the bracelet's actually very nice as well. Maybe just not as nice as the Christopher Ward, like I said. Anyway, quick loom shot, and then we'll wrap up the video. And there you have it. So, like I said, they are extremely well loomed, these watches. The Christopher Ward is maybe just a tad brighter initially, and that's because the bezel, the actual indices on the bezel are larger, while the dial on the Zelos is a tad brighter than the Christopher Ward, and that's because the indices are larger and filled more with loom, and the hands are pretty much equal, maybe a tad brighter on the Christopher Ward because, again, the size of the actual hands here. And then you do get a minute track that's actually loomed, not only on the bezel, but on the inner track of the actual dial on the Zelos. You do not get that fully loomed on the Christopher Ward. Loom here is really, it really is just very, very equal, I would say. There's plus and minuses on both. But there's really, there's just, the loom on both of them are incredible. You really cannot go wrong with the loom on either of these watches. I think that they both do an excellent job, and they hang on pretty well as well. Really good loom. And then you get a loom crown on the Zelos, which is another little added bonus that you do not get on the Christopher Ward. However, the Christopher Ward has a beautiful bezel, beautiful crown as well. The crown is really nicely finished as well. It's just, they both have very nice crowns. Christopher Ward is a little bit bigger, which I like, but other than that, they're like I said, the Christopher Ward is an awesome watch. If you have the $800, definitely get the Christopher Ward. Go for that over the Zelos. If you're looking to spend under $800, the Zelos gives you a lot of what you get here with Christopher Ward for less money. That's just the way it is. Not a Swiss-made watch. You do get a 9015, which, again, I really like, actually. I think it's a great movement. But that, is a little bit of a difference. Less water resistance. Again, a little bit rougher of finishing on that buckle. The finishing overall on the case and bracelet are very, very good. Maybe not as comparable to the Christopher Ward, but close and getting closer. Ceramic bezels, really a lot of similarities here. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments below. I know there are a lot of people who are fans of Christopher Ward and a lot of people who are fans of Zelos. I think this is a really good comparison because both of these watches are incredible, and honestly, I'd be proud to own either of them. I own the Zelos. I would like to own a Christopher Ward and have one in my collection as well. I really love them. I think they're both amazing watches, and for the money, both of them are bargains, actually. You're getting a Swiss watch, you're getting a watch that's just, a spec monster for, just a little bit of a price difference. So definitely something to consider if you are considering either. But add a comment below. Tell me what you think. I really want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It helps me bring you watches like these. If you guys watch these videos and hit that like button, It helps support the channel, and if you ring that bell icon especially, helps support the channel. It helps me bring you watches like these so that I can do comparisons like this. Please also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. Doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.